Hi guys, welcome to MVB Life Empowerment Sessions. We are back again. This time we are bringing in Mr. Boateng. He has some controversial questions or something. So I'll let him introduce himself, and then the other people introduce themselves, and then he'll take it away with whatever he has for us.
Hi everyone, I'm back again, taking over the show. My name is George, and then I'm the owner of this lady over here.
Hey, God.
Yeah. Personal property.
I've been personal property.
Exactly. Can you introduce yourself before we come?
I'm also George.
I'm Dawn.
George 1, George 2, New Direction Bible Temple has so many Georges. Anyway, please take over. And Miss Dawn, thank you for coming once again.
Okay. So, my question is simple and straightforward. The question is, I'm going to start from you, George. Is it okay for a single person, like it can be a guy, it can be a lady, right, that don't have a kid, to teach a parent what parenting is?
It depends on what the person is teaching. Because I believe certain things are universal. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you have children or not. Certain things are just wrong, and that person will be straightened out. Just that you need to know how you go about it. There are certain things you need to correct it instantly, but there are other things you need to speak to the parent as to what maybe you witness and how they should go about it. So it depends on what that you want to train a child. But when it comes to, let's say, instilling values, that is the duty of the parent, unless the parent is incapable of doing it due to some reasons, then somebody has to take it up. But when it comes to like disciplining, certain things like let's say if you miss someone, let me say stealing, you cannot say you are waiting for the person's parent to or teach him or not. Anybody knows stealing is wrong. It's something universal. But when, like I said, instilling values, I believe parents should instill their values into their children, unless maybe they are one way or the other incapable of doing it.
Great submission. So the same question will come for you, Dawn.
Clarify the question. You said, is it okay?
Is it okay, right, for someone without a child to teach a parent what parenting is? It's like you don't have a child. You don't know what, like, having a child is.
Right.
Then how are you going to, like, what do you have a say in what parenting should be?
So you're telling somebody else that has a child how they should raise their child, is that?
Yeah, kind of like you are like telling the person, this is, if you are a parent, this is what parenting is supposed to be.
I think that we all have experiences from our own childhood and from our own parents, right? And that's where we get the framework for how to be a parent and what we would do with children. So I think even if you yourself have never had children or you don't have kids currently, and there is some wisdom that you can impart to a parent, I think it's totally fine to offer a suggestion, offer an information that you have. Because I have one son. You don't have kids yet, right? So if I'm talking to you about something an experience I'm having with my son, but you remember that it was one time it was you, or you remember one time it was your brother, and you're like, I remember what happened with this. And then you can come from there, and it would never be where I would say, what are you talking about?
Who do you think you are?
You don't have any kids. What do you know? I mean, people do that, but it's usually not because what they're offering is wrong. It's usually because this feeling of like they feel that they're wrong, and that's where that defense comes from. But absolutely, I think anyone can offer anything to a situation where a parent is having trouble with something or just needs to know. Like we're all human and we all have experiences to share. So I think it is like it should be that way. Like everyone should be.
It should be that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes from so many different facets. Just because you are a parent does not necessarily mean you're a wise parent. It doesn't mean like you're good. There are people that have children, they themselves are children. They haven't matured. They are struggling. So just because they have a child but mentally they are not there yet, there could be another person, the person could be single and older, but they have handled a lot of different children. They've been in, in educational system where they can help children to grow. I feel like that person can always hold that, young parent that is struggling and guide them. And it all depends on how you talk to the person and how you communicate with the individual. The problem is most of the times we take things personally when you're being corrected. But when you are struggling as an individual and people know you're a single parent and you are struggling and your values are not well, I always go back to the teachings from the bishop, like, the seed, right? It will show up in the fruit, right? So if you yourself, you're already a full fruit, right? You're a full person, you're the parent, but your values and your actions, people look at you and they think, oh, man, your character is horrible. And then you have a child. It's other people that see your character. So for the sake of that child, you might have a single person that will come. They also want to show you and give you their advice. They're not condescending and looking down at you, but they just don't want your child to carry that same, the same attributes and the same characteristics. So yes, a single person can definitely help a parent that has a child, because we all need help. We are, work in progress. It's not everything that you know just because you gave birth.
That's true. And from what George said and you,
Yeah.
you both mentioned something that I want to talk about. That is sometimes about how you present it or how you say it. I still feel like from one of your submissions, I remember George talking about you just have to just say it as hard or as soft that it has to be.
Okay.
So saying it nicely, will it change anything? And being so straightforward, will it change anything?
Well, I mean, you have to know who you're talking to. You have to know the person before. That's why God said use wisdom. Just because you have knowledge, right? Let's say, for example, I know that this guy has muscles, right? My in-law, and I'll be like, because I know he did something, I'm just going to go and talk to him. But do you know this guy be doing some karate belts, karate moves, some Jackie Chan stuff? He will whoop me. He will beat me if I go there. So you can't just say because you have wisdom, you're going to go and just talk to any a person anyhow. This is how you see these things. Like when you see it on TV, a lot of times people go to a bar to drink, right? And have some kind of enjoyment. One person gets drunk, and then maybe somebody else in there will be like, oh, you chill, take it easy. And then that person who's drunk, because they are not in the right sense of mind, they just hate that you came to them. You don't know them from Adam or from nowhere. They'll come and start whooping you. So I think know who you're talking to, because some things can be avoided. It's not everything you should. If it's not within your capacity and you don't really know the person, maybe go to someone else that knows them, that they respect. Have that person address it.
Okay. You have anything to add to it?
How you present something is very important. For example, what is your favorite meal? Like the food you can eat any time of the day?
Every day, without
questions?
Without questions.
I'll go for rice any moment, any day.
Go. Now, if I'm to take that rice and I put that rice in a garbage can and I give it to you, will you eat it?
I'll be upset. I don't think I will eat it.
Okay, so even though you like it,
world ended, there's poverty.
the way it was presented to
Yeah.
you, even though you like it, but the way it was presented it to you prevented you from accepting it.
Right.
So how you present your advice or your opinion sometimes matters.
Okay. This it happened at work, and the reason why I brought it up, where
Yeah, coming for you.
Was it you?
Yeah,
it wasn't directly me, but I always cause trouble at work anyway. So it's just someone talking about he needed help, he needed assistance, right? But the person trying to offer don't have a kid, right? So that was how he said it. Like, you don't know because you don't have a kid. That's what I'm trying to say.
Did you find that what he
Yeah.
was contributing to the situation was helpful though?
It was mostly financial though.
Wait,
I mean, but you could be
about a
wealthy
kid?
and
Like
not have kids.
it's I don't want to talk about the actual situation.
Okay.
That is why
No,
I
let's
made
not-
it in
yeah,
general.
yeah.
Like, that is all. But my whole point is you can give advice, right? As to how, that is what we have all agreed on. You can give an advice as to how the parent is supposed to parent, like, his or her child.
Right.
Right. So beside the advice that telling it with that nicely or hard, besides that, do you, it's like, I want to say, do you even have the right to even do that? To say, although I don't have a child, but this is what you are doing to, like, this is not right. This is not how
Right.
parenting is like.
I
That is
think-
my whole point. Like,
I think you can offer, but in any and even in any situation, the same advice that the person gave that was rejected, even if he had kids, he might hold the same opinion, right? And then there would be another reason for the rejection, right? Sometimes just an opinion or an idea about how you should do something isn't received because for you that's not an acceptable solution, right? So that was where he qualified it. He says, you don't have children, so you don't even know what I'm talking about right now,
Right.
right? But if he did have kids, he would say, that's not how I would never do my child like that. It would, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So, I mean, if to censor advice for only people who have that same situation, it
Criteria,
would make it
yeah.
very difficult for us to live in society. And the amount of information that we would be receiving would be so much less. We would still, I think, would be a sense of loss. Like we would just wouldn't know because there's always going to be someone who's offering a suggestion or a solution, and their situation doesn't exactly match your own.
Right.
So, I don't think
I'm going to shift it a bit, but when you
Yeah.
finish. So, this same situation, can we take this same scenario and bring it to like a single person counseling a couple?
Yeah. Okay.
Without Fred, you made mention of your like
Yeah.
from the first question. You said something that I really like too, that although the single person don't have a kid, but they can reference back their own upbringing and say, oh, when I was a kid, when I was growing up, these are some of the things that I encountered,
Right.
and based on that, from what I'm saying, this might be the reason, this might be the issue that is at hand.
Right.
So in a case of a counselor, or in a case of going to see somebody, the person is single, but here is the case, the person is counseling a couple. Can we put these two in the same scenario? Is it okay? Is it advisable for a single person to advise couples? Anybody can start. Yeah.
That's a good question.
You want me to start?
I said anybody, so
I would like
it
to
had,
finish.
I know I was
Started.
talking back and forth with
You
John, but
started.
John, yes, you can start.
What are they seeking the counseling for?
Yeah.
So people go to counseling like for various reasons. But when it's like, when you go in as a couple for counseling, whatever reason it is, be it you are having a difficulty in your relationship, be it you are having financial, be anything, is it okay for someone who is single to give couples like advice?
Like when you were talking about something financial.
Yeah.
You can go to a financial
Financial
expert who is
expert,
single and he can help. But when it comes to things that, unless you've experienced it, there are certain things, unless you've experienced it, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So for those things, I don't think a single person, even if you know, you won't have a full appreciation of the situation.
Of the whole thing.
And your help could end up harming than doing good. So it depends on what you're seeking. Financial advice, you seek as financial expert. It doesn't matter whether the person is married or single. But there are certain things only a married person will appreciate the situation and offer a proper help.
I think you look for a a person who has a specialty in the field of whatever it is that you're looking for help from. It's not to discredit the person that is not married, because there are single people that have been married before. And just because they are single does not necessarily mean they don't have an understanding
That's true.
of your problem. So you have to look at different facets. And also, if your problem is rooted in something that needs a deeper help and understanding from a professional, go and seek a professional so they can give you unbiased information.
But what I'm talking about, it's not like you are just going to talk to a single. Because they are like, marriage. I've heard.
Are you saying that, let's say, the marriage counselor has never married before?
Yeah. There are instances that they are marriage counselors, because you can go to school, get a degree, and become a counselor, and become a marriage counselor. So let's say this marriage counselor just did the educational part of it, got a certificate, and the person is licensed to be a counselor.
Never married.
Yeah.
Never married,
Yeah.
but it's a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise people to go there. Because marriage is like an experiential thing. It's not like something you can
can
just
learn in a
learn.
book.
You have something you have to live it.
There's some things.
So if you are going to be a marriage counselor, you should have at least either you are married or have been married before. I wouldn't advise a married
the
couple
process.
to seek counseling from a certified marriage counselor who's never been married before. Because probably if that marriage counselor is to face the situation they are bringing it to him, he probably will have done worse.
We are on the same page.
I agree, because it's not something that you can learn in a book, right? And there's no like framework or anywhere that it's like a pathway, like if X happens, this is what you do, right? So as far as relationship goes, there's things
you
that
could
you
learn
can
from
talk
that.
about with relationship, but because marriage is such a
different.
it's a different
aspect,
beast, right? It's not a regular relationship like how I have a relationship with you, or vice versa, or whatever.
Yeah.
This is something else. So I feel like he's absolutely right. Like, it's something that you have to have experience with. You have to, I mean, from a biblical standpoint,
Gotta walk through it.
you have to walk the walk, right? You have to have some level of
Yeah.
understanding about what happens in a marriage. That some people who if you've never been
single
married
mindset
and
is
you've
different, yeah.
never and you don't have an understanding of what marriage is as far as how God sees marriage, you're going to have a hard time talking about what's really happening when it's happening,
Yeah.
because you're going to be so surface level.
That's true.
It's marriage is deep.
And the perspective also, I feel like from a single person or an individual person, right? It's based on like a single perspective, should I say? Like the way they live their life also, and the way they observe things. But I think also, like, agreeing with my brother and my sister here, is that you need to have someone that can look at both coins, like sides of the coin, and give counsel that will not harm you at the end of the day. I know there are people out there that will say, oh, I could do it, because maybe they came from a great family. They observed these different marriages. There are people that have studied those kind of things. Not to say they're not, but one thing I would just say is that you're already having problems. Your marriage is not an experiment.
Right.
That's true. That's
So,
true.
but if you want to go and experiment and get yourself more trouble, that's on you. And I'll just leave it there.
Thank you for all your inputs. I really like it. So, in a way,
Yeah.
in certain scenarios, like if the person that is giving advice hasn't, like, because I was trying to see if we can put these two together, like a single,
single
person,
person and
giving advice
parenting.
to couples, and then someone who don't have a child
Right.
advising, like,
Right.
a parent.
I see
Would they
what-
they all fit together?
Well, I mean, I like with that, because there are two different tangents, right? Let me put it this way. Let's say you could be single and have married friends, but because you've been all single together as friends, you know their personalities. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, you and me, and my in-law here, we've all been in the same boat together. So when you are acting out, he can point you out. When I'm acting out, he can point me out, because he's noticed our characteristics. So that's why you have to know who is it that is giving you advice. So it's not just to just say the person no, you can't. But you have to. The person has to know you. You have been in their circles. There are people that they're your prayer partners. You have prayed together. You've been in the same thing. So just because you got married doesn't not necessarily mean
They don't
you
take
are
them
not.
out.
Yeah, exactly. They still know who you are as an individual. So I feel like those people, they were helping you before manage your character. They can still help you because they know when you're off.
And I think these submissions are really, really Like great, and thank you for all the input. I'm sure in all we have to first know who is giving the counsel, who is giving the advice, and if it's coming from the good heart, if it's coming from the right source. Was like one thing that I picked from, and
Yeah.
some situations, although the person haven't experienced it, like as having like a single person don't have a baby yet, but because they themselves have been a child before, they can talk about parenting to a certain extent, not everything, but to a certain extent. But as to getting counsel, as to getting advice from people, just know the source, know who you are meeting, know who you are taking the information from, and that will go a long way to help either bad or good. You can fix your marriage or you can fix your parenting skills, provided you get the right counsel from the right person. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything before we close.
No, guys, thank you.
You said it all.
All right.